Hi, so today we're going to react to this other channel called History Stories. I'm going to react to this one.
Hi, baby. I was walking to second period when I saw the cheerleading captain Madison slam a girl into the lockers. The girl hit the metal hard, and her binder fell open, causing her papers
If you like this channel, subscribe to him.
to go everywhere. The girl was small, and her hair was greasy, and she was trying to pick up her papers without crying, while Madison was laughing and recording the whole thing. I walked over and shouted, "Madison, back off. Oh, Hudson, you're such a hero."
Hudson.
She mocked me, and then walked away. But I didn't care. I just knelt down and helped the girl pick up her papers. "Are you okay?" I asked. She nodded without looking at me. "What's your name?" I asked her. She whispered it so quietly, I almost didn't hear her. "Bertha." I smiled. "Well, Bertha, you didn't deserve that. You seem like a nice person. Madison's the one with the problem, not you. Don't let her ruin your day." She looked at me for the first time. "Thank you. I won't forget this. I won't forget you," she said shakily, and I tried to ignore how weird that made me feel. I just gave her a small nod and said, "Have a good day," then walked off to second period before the bell rang. But when I checked my locker later that day, there was a note in there that said, "I'll never forget what you did. Yours B." I thought it was weird, but shrugged it off and put it in my backpack because I figured she was just grateful. And then I went to lunch and sat down at my usual table with my best friend Andre and 3 other guys from the football team. But before I could even start eating, Bertha sat down in the empty seat next to me and put her hand on top of mine. "Hi, baby. I was thinking about you all morning." The whole table went quiet, but she just smiled at me like we've been doing this for years. I pulled my hand back, and she looked confused. I spoke to her softly. "Hey, Bertha, I think you have the wrong idea. I was just trying to help out, and I have a girlfriend." She patted my shoulder and stood up. "Babe, you don't have to pretend in front of your friends." She walked off before I could respond, and Andre stared at me. "Bro, what was that?" "I don't know," I said, feeling uneasy about the whole thing. I didn't think about Bertha after that until I was 10 minutes into football practice, and I heard someone screaming my name from the bleachers. "Let's go, Hudson. That's my man. You got this, baby." I knew that voice before I even turned around. I didn't think about Bertha after that until I was 10 minutes into football practice, and I heard someone screaming my name from the bleachers. "Let's go, Hudson."
My number 1, go baby go. It hurts.
"That's my man. You got this, baby." I knew that voice before I even turned around. Bertha was on the 4th row of the bleachers holding a sign that said, "My number 1, go baby go," cheering like she was at the state championship. Andre jogged up next to me and elbowed me in the ribs. "Bro, you got a fan." I just face-palmed, and a couple of the guys started laughing. One of them even whistled at her. Another one yelled toward the bleachers, "Yo, who are you? You here for our boy?" Bertha cupped her hands around her mouth and yelled back, "I'm his girlfriend." The whole offensive line lost it. They were doubled over laughing, slapping each other, pointing at me. One of them said, "Damn, Hudson, what happened to Lauren?" While Andre asked, "Bro, what is happening?" "She's not my girlfriend," I yelled, stressed out of my mind now. "Lauren and I are still together. I don't know that girl." Everyone went silent, and I jogged over toward the bleachers because I had to shut this down before it got back to Lauren. Bertha was already leaning over the railing, beaming at me. "Bertha, you can't tell people we're dating. You know I have a girlfriend." She just laughed like I'd said something adorable. "Babe, relax. They were just playing. I'm not embarrassing you, I promise." I stared at her, wondering how I was saying one thing, but she was hearing something else. And then Coach blew his whistle from the field. "Hudson, get back here. What are you doing?" I sighed heavily and jogged back to the line with my hands shaking. By the time we hit the showers, I had a headache so bad I could barely see straight, and it got worse the second I checked my phone because Lauren had already texted 17 times. "Hudson, what the hell? Nala just sent me a video of some girl in your bleachers holding a sign saying she's your number 1. Why is she there? Why is she saying that?" "Babe, I'm trying not to spiral, but this is really messing with me. I don't know what to think. Call me the second you're done." The air went out of my chest, and I stared at the screen wondering how I was going to explain Bertha to Lauren. But I called her the second I got in my car and told her I was a wreck and asked if she could meet me. A few minutes later, she was in the parking lot, and I hugged her tightly. "Babe, what is going on?" Lauren asked shakily. I pulled back and told her everything, and when I was done, she put her hand on the side of my face. "Hudson, I believe you. I just needed to hear it from you. We're gonna figure this out together. I love you." I hugged her again, and I realized I needed support right now. We sat in my car for 20 minutes talking about everything except Bertha. By the time she had to leave for her shift at the cafe, I felt like I could breathe again. But when I got home and walked into the kitchen, Bertha was standing at the counter next to my mom, and they were laughing like they'd known each other for years. There was even a casserole dish between them, and the second mom saw me, her face lit up. "Hudson, honey, Bertha was just telling me she finally got the courage to come introduce herself. I can't believe you've been hiding her from me. She's such a doll." Bertha looked at me over my mom's shoulder and gave me a little wave. "I was just telling your mom about the cabin trip we were thinking about for spring break. I felt the headache from earlier come right back. Mom, I've never planned a cabin trip with her. I don't know her. Please don't let her in this house again." The kitchen went silent. Bertha's bottom lip started shaking and her eyes filled with tears. She put a hand over her mouth and a small sob came out. "Hudson, why are you doing this? Why are you saying these things in front of your mom?" I didn't do anything." She started crying for real now, and her shoulders actually shook. Mom instantly believed her and pulled her into a hug and rubbed her back. "Shh, sweetheart, it's okay, it's okay. He's just stressed about football. You know how boys are." But then she glared at me over Bertha's shoulder. "Hudson Walker, what is wrong with you? This girl drove all the way over here and made you dinner and you're going to embarrass her like that. In my house, you're better than this." I opened my mouth, but my mom held up her hand to stop me. "No, I don't want to hear it. You're grounded. Go to your room. You can come back down when you're ready to apologize." I stood there for a second staring at my own mother, holding the girl who'd been stalking me for 2 days while she told me I was the problem. And then Bertha peeked at me, and I swear to God she was smiling. But since I clearly lost, I went upstairs and shut my door and sat on the floor while my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I didn't know what I was supposed to do tomorrow when I had to see Bertha at school again. The only thing keeping me from completely losing it was knowing Lauren still believed me. But the next morning, I woke up to something on my pillow. I picked it up and saw it was a Polaroid of me sleeping. On the bottom in black Sharpie it said, "Don't be sad, baby. She shouldn't have grounded you." I sat straight up and the picture fell into my lap. Bertha had been in my room. Bertha had stood over my bed with a camera while I was unconscious and taken a picture of me. I felt like I was going to throw up, and the worst part was I couldn't even tell Mom because after last night she would think I was making it up. So instead, I drove to the hardware store after school and bought a deadbolt and a new lock for my window and a motion sensor I could stick on my windowsill. I installed all of it and even tested every lock 5 times. I got into bed thinking I would be safe, but the next morning there was a new Polaroid sitting face up on my pillow. My hands shook as I looked at it because this time it was a picture of Lauren sleeping in her bed taken from inside her room. Bertha even wrote, "She won't bother us after today." I jolted out of bed. My chest was heaving and I couldn't breathe. I immediately caught Lauren, but it went straight to voicemail, so I texted her, "Lauren, pick up. Bertha was in your room last night. Call me right now." And then I grabbed my car keys and ran out the house. I was speeding the whole way to Lauren's house and I tried calling her again, but it went to voicemail again. By the time I arrived, I saw Lauren's front door was wide open, so I left my car and ran inside. I heard Lauren crying from upstairs, so I took the stairs 2 at a time and ran into her bedroom. And Bertha was standing there while Lauren was on the floor by the foot of the bed. Lauren's nose was bleeding and her right eye was already swelling shut and her hair was a mess and she was sobbing. I clenched my fists, trying hard to control my anger. Bertha looked up at me and she got so happy. "Hudson, oh thank God you're here." She just wouldn't listen to me. I tried to be nice. I really did. I didn't bother looking at her and just knelt down next to Lauren and tried to look at her face, but she flinched. "Babe, it's me, it's me." I hugged her while Bertha screamed, "Hudson, let her go." I said, "I'm gonna call 911 right now." But Lauren grabbed my wrist with her shaking hand. No, don't. Just get her out. Hudson, please, just get her out of my house." And so I stood up and grabbed Bertha's arm and started pulling her toward the door. "Hudson, baby, what are you doing? Why are you mad at me? I did this for us." I rolled my eyes and dragged her down the stairs and out the front door and shoved her down onto the porch. "Bertha, if you ever touch her again, come near her again, or even say her name again, I will end you. Do you understand me?" She was standing on the porch looking up at me confused. "Baby, you're scaring me. I did this so we could be together. Why are you talking to me like this? Get out of here." I should have never stopped Madison that day. She stood there for another second, like she was waiting for me to apologize, but I just slammed the door in her face and ran back upstairs. Lauren had already pulled herself up against the side of her bed, and she was holding a tissue against her nose. "Babe, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna take you to the hospital." "Hudson, no," she said, making me stop in my tracks. I woke up and she was sitting on the edge of my bed watching me. She knows where I live. I don't think I can do this anymore. I didn't say anything. I couldn't because I knew right then and there that I lost Lauren. I just didn't want to be the one to say it out loud. "Hudson, just go home, please," she said weakly. I stood up slowly and walked out the front door, then got in my car and drove home. The next day at school felt like walking into a different world because half the school wasn't looking at me while the rest were giving me dirty looks. I tried to ask one of my friends at lunch what was going on, and he just said, "I don't want to get involved, man." I ended up walking past Madison on the way to lunch, and she pointed and laughed at me. "Heard you finally showed your true colors, hero." Her friends laughed with her, and they kept walking. I didn't even know what she meant by that. Then 2 of my teammates passed me in the hallway after 6th period and didn't say anything. I finally caught up to Andre after classes and asked him what was going on. "Bro, people are saying you hit Lauren yesterday. They're saying you've been losing it all week. I don't want to get involved, man." He walked off before I could say anything. As if things couldn't get any worse, Coach pulled me into his office during practice. "Hudson, I'm gonna be straight with you. Parents are calling. The recruiter from state is calling. I have to bench you until all this gets sorted out." "I'm sorry, son." I nodded because there was nothing left to say. I sat in my car in the parking lot for 10 minutes, staring at the steering wheel because Bertha had just taken football away from me. I finally turned the car off to go home, but when I pulled into my driveway, I saw Bertha through the front window sitting on my couch with my little sister Hazel cuddling up against her. I felt a headache coming in immediately as I walked through the front door, and then I saw Hazel was crying. "Hudson," Hazel said with a small voice, "did you really hurt your girlfriend?" "Hazel, I didn't hurt anybody. Whatever Bertha told you was a lie." Bertha stroked Hazel's hair and smiled innocently. "I've just been telling Hazel the truth about who her brother really is. She deserves to know." Hazel curled in closer to Bertha and looked up at her like Bertha was the only thing keeping her safe. "Hazel, go upstairs, now," I said, but Hazel didn't move. Instead, she looked at Bertha for permission, and when Bertha nodded, Hazel got off the couch and went to her room. I was disgusted, but didn't say anything until I heard Hazel's bedroom door close. "Get out of my house, Bertha." I was fed up at this point. She stood up and walked up to me until she was inches from my face. "Your mom said I could be here, so you can't kick me out, sweetie." She went to kiss my cheek, but I stepped back, and she smiled sadly. "I'll see you soon, Hudson." She walked out the front door while I stood in the living room shaking. I realized Bertha couldn't take Hazel away from me, too. So I went to my room, opened my laptop, and started looking for anything I could find on Bertha that I could use against her. I instantly found her home address, but when I pulled up to it, the windows were boarded over, and there was yellow tape across the front door and a notice from the city stapled to the porch. It was obvious nobody had lived there in a long time. I was sitting in my car staring at it when an older woman came out of the house next door and knocked on my window. "You looking for somebody, honey?" she asked me. "I'm looking for Bertha." The woman's face softened. "Honey, that poor child hasn't lived here in over a year. What happened to her? CPS came and took her. Her mama wasn't fit to raise nobody. She's in and out of jail now. Where is Bertha now?" The woman shrugged. "She bounces around. Sometimes sleeps at the laundromat when they leave the back door open." I thanked her and drove back home, where I instantly pulled up every social media account Bertha had. It was normal at first with pictures of food and sunsets, but then I found an account of hers that felt more like a public diary. The first entry was from the day I helped her in the hallway. "He saved me from Madison today. His name is Hudson. He's the one. I just know it." The next day she wrote, "He pretended not to know me at lunch. It's okay. He's nervous. We have time." Every single day after had a new entry with conversations we never had and photos of me she'd secretly taken. There was a list of baby names for our kids, a boy named Theo and a girl named Margot. A countdown to graduation captioned, "That's when I'll tell him I'm ready." The entry from this morning sent shivers down my spine because it was a picture of me sleeping with the deadbolt visible behind me, and the caption underneath said, "He's getting more careful, but he doesn't have to be. I'll always find him because that's what love is." I stared at it in disgust and decided enough was enough, and so I printed every page. When Monday morning came, I walked into the counselor's office, put the folder on her desk, and asked her to call Bertha in. Bertha came in a few minutes later smiling at us like we were meeting up for coffee. She sat down in the chair next to mine and reached for my hand, but I pulled it away. "Baby, don't be like that," she pouted.
Mai stau puțin afară, de ce? Nu închide. Închide eu că intru în casă, ai auzit? Ai închis de mamaie. Haide.
Bertha, I went to your house yesterday, I told her, and her pout instantly disappeared. Her smile stayed on her face, but her eyes went somewhere else. I opened the folder and showed her the picture of the boarded-up house. Nobody lives here. Nobody's lived here in over a year. She glanced at it and laughed a small laugh. Hudson, that's not my house. You went to the wrong address. Your neighbor knew who you were when I asked about you. Well, she lied. That's not my house. I ignored her obvious lies. Your mom is in jail. CPS took you out of that house, so now you sleep in a laundromat. I know all of it, Bertha. Her smile started cracking. Who told you that? Hudson. Who told you that? That neighbor doesn't know what she's talking about. My mom is at home. My mom is at home making dinner right now. Bertha, your mom is in jail. My mom is at home. She said it louder. My mom is at home, Hudson. She's making dinner. She's making the chicken thing she always makes. Stop it. But I didn't stop. I took out the printed diary entries and laid them down on the desk one by one. The first entry, the second, the graduation countdown, the baby names, the picture of me asleep with the deadbolt behind me. Bertha's eyes followed each page, and her mouth started moving without making sound. Her eyes had tears in them, and her cheeks were red, but she was smiling like nothing was wrong. Oh, I see what this is. She started laughing. You read my journal. Hudson, you read my journal. That was so private, baby. I didn't know you were such a snoop. She laughed harder, and then the laugh caught in her throat, and her face crumpled, and she was crying. She pointed at the counselor. Why are you doing this in front of her? Why are you embarrassing me in front of her? We're getting married. I picked names. We picked names. You said you wanted Theo if it was a boy. You said it. You said it in the kitchen with your mom. Your mom heard you say it. We never talked about names. You said it. She slammed her hand on the desk. You said it, Hudson. Don't do this to me. Don't do this. Then her voice dropped to a whisper, and she was rocking a little in the chair, and it was like she was malfunctioning again. You said you wanted Theo. You said Theo had your eyes. You said it. You said it. You said it. The counselor then spoke. Bertha, sweetheart, you're okay. You're safe right here. I'm going to get you some help, all right? Just stay with me. Then she grabbed the office phone and dialed 911. But Bertha wasn't safe, and I wanted her to feel the fear and panic she had put me through. And so I slid the deadbolt photo to her. You broke into my house and took this picture. You're insane. Bertha looked at the photo, and her face went blank. She picked it up and held it close to her face like she was trying to see something inside it. This is our bed. Hudson, this is our bed. She was whispering now. I sleep here every night. I sleep here next to you. Why are you saying I broke in? I live here. I live here. You don't live in my house, Bertha. I live in our house, she cried, and then suddenly slid out of the chair and fell to the floor with the deadbolt photo crumpled against her chest. She kept whispering, I live in our house. I live in our house. I live in our house. The counselor crouched next to her with one hand on her back trying to calm her down. I looked at her on the floor. Her greasy hair was stuck to her wet face, and she was looking at me like I was the only person in the world, because to her I was. I was the only person in her world. The rest of it was a story she told herself so she could survive being completely alone. But I had just shattered her delusions and brought her back to the real world, and she couldn't handle it. 2 EMT guys walked in a few minutes later, and one of them knelt down next to her and tried to get her to sit up. When she didn't, the other rubbed her shoulder and told her she was going to be okay, and they were going to take her somewhere safe. Bertha still didn't look at them, but they lifted her onto a stretcher, and she didn't fight them. What's going to happen to her? I asked the counselor as they wheeled Bertha out of the office. She's probably going to be placed in a long-term psychiatric facility. She'll be there at least a year, probably longer. She needs help, Hudson. Help she should have gotten a long time ago. I nodded, but didn't say anything. By the end of the school day, everybody knew what happened in the counselor's office, and so Andre caught up to me in my locker. Bro, I'm sorry. I should have had your back. I knew you wouldn't have done that to Lauren. It's okay, man, I said, but wasn't sure if I really meant it. I gotta get home, though. Yeah, all right, bro. Catch you later. I was almost at the doors when Coach caught me in the hallway. I'm putting you back on the starting roster on Friday. The recruiter from State is coming to the game. Don't let him down. I won't, I told him, feeling glad I had football back. I was walking to my car when I saw Lauren standing by hers across the lot. Her nose was bandaged across the bridge, and she had a yellow bruise under her left eye that was starting to fade. She looked at me, and I tensed up because I didn't know what to do. But then I walked over to her. Hey, I said awkwardly. Hey, we stood there for a second. How are you feeling? I asked her. The doctor said the bandage comes off Friday. I nodded because I didn't know what to say next, and so she spoke. Hudson, I love you. I want you to know that. But every time my phone buzzes, I still think it's her. Every time I hear footsteps behind me, I still think it's her. I can't be your girlfriend right now. Maybe not for a long time. I'm sorry. You don't have to be sorry, I said, choking up because I thought we could go back to normal. She nodded, and her eyes got teary, but she didn't cry. I didn't either. She got into her car, and I stood there until she pulled out of the lot. I was walking back to my car when I saw Madison standing over a girl on the concrete, and she had pink syrup running down her face and into her shirt. The girl wasn't even crying as if she had given up. I stood there for a second watching them, thinking about telling Madison to back off like I did before, but I didn't. Instead, I got in my car and drove home.
Good for you, man. Bye, everyone. See you. I don't want to go tomorrow. Bye.